Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
So there's been some crazy things happening in America recently. For instance, a lot of canceled flights. Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. We have both Jimmy and Jeshua on. They both went to Tacoma, and we were supposed to do this interview at their home, but that's not what's happening. Why don't you tell us what happened, guys?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So during the very last game of the tournament, I got a fun little message from Delta, and they said, "Hey, maybe San Diego's not so cool, and you don't need to go home." So it was like start of like round 3, and I'm already drained because long tournament. And I get this fun message, and it was like, if there's problems, normally it's like, hey, your flight's been moved or a new flight. And this is like, fuck your flight. It's gone. It's YouTube. We're not supposed to do it at the beginning. I'm sorry. Okay, anyways. But yeah, it was just like, that flight's gone now. And I was like, well, how do I get home? It's like, sounds like a you problem. And I was like, whew, that's fun. So I'm like casually mentioning, I'm like, okay, so yesterday democracy collapsed, and today I don't have a flight home. This is really fun. I'll just focus on this game, I guess. And so I spent last night and this morning having to deal with extending hotel rooms. We're staying in a lovely gypsy motel. It's fantastic.
Nice.
That's a story for another podcast that we will charge money for. It'll be on the premium selection.
Squad Games Redacted, I think is what it's called.
Exactly. And then I had to extend our electric car rental. And you may ask, Jimmy, why did you rent an electric car? That sounds like an inconvenience and a headache to drive around a town you don't know with a car that you can't put fuel in. Great question. I didn't. They just gave me one. Fun. I was like, well, can I upgrade it? They're like, that's just like a lot of money to get a car that takes gas. Just because we need to switch it. And so you get the electric car. I'm like, why would you rent these? Like, why would this be a thing you would give as an option? And fun a little bit, a lot of people think, if we can talk politics for a second, don't worry, it won't be too bad. A lot of people think the Pacific Northwest is very progressive and like, oh, they're so liberal in the Pacific. You know what? Liberals like electric car charging stations. There are none here. They're all broken. None of them work. They've been ripped out of the ground, like set on fire. I went to like 20 places. I put in the smartphone like, hey, where's a charging place? And Apple Maps was like, don't worry, I got you. It did not got me. I was going everywhere. There was nothing. And like, I almost ran out of like my charge on the freeway. And like, how do you call for like roads? You have to get towed, right? Like no one can bring you a tank of electricity to like pour in. I hate it. I hate it.
Wrong.
Yeah. So like, anyways, it's been nothing but headaches. And here we are in our lovely gypsy motel in Seattle still. One day I might return home. Maybe this is my new home. I don't even know. So we're stuck here.
That's fair. That's fair. Now there's a lot of this podcast, so everyone should know, is about scouts and how to play scouts.
Yes.
Jeshua did really well with them at a 90-person event, and scouts look to be really strong, though they still haven't won a giant tournament. We'll swap over to, if we could do that right. These are the results for Tacoma. And we have Adrian Bonavento taking first place with Mandrakes. We have Chris Bakke taking second place with Brood Brothers. And yes, we can both see that they had to get to the 7th pairing metric, which I think is overall victory points, to actually figure out who won the actual event, because everything else, I believe, is the exact same. Wow. It was the overall opponent win percentage by less than 1 percentage point.
Well, there's a little bit more to that, but
you're not wrong.
But we don't need to get into all that. So it was going to be Adrian's game regardless.
Yeah. Matt Wilhelm took second with third with Commandos.
Hey.
Looks like they're still good, everyone.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kelly, who we have on the pod, took fourth with Wormblade. And Jeshua took Scout Squad, got fifth. James Loomis got another Scout Squad in sixth. And then seventh and eighth, we have Corsairs, Hunter Clade, and then we have in ninth place, we have Blooded. And that's the top 10%. So that's what we're gonna focus on. Yeah, so that was cool. Jimmy, you got best overall.
No, I got best general.
Best general.
Oh,
That's
okay.
it. That's it.
Which is, it seems weird, but I'll take it. It's funny, it's a long game. I got 4th place. I was literally 1 point from winning the whole thing. 1 point for the whole tournament. It was rough. So because I was final table, Adrian actually ended up winning best overall because not only is he pretty good at Kill Team, he had really good painted models that he actually painted himself. So not one of these, people that hires commission people. I don't know why I'm throwing shade. Here's the thing. We'll get to this a little bit later, but I told Dakotah I got to throw shade. And I was like, look, I got to throw, I normally throw shade at the people at the tournament. And I was trying to think, who am I going to throw shade at? They're so nice. There's no one to throw shade at. So I'm going to throw shade generally out to the universe at people who pay for commission models. So take that, people who pay people like Dakotah money. So I'm just going to insult your immediate customers, Dakotah.
Didn't you pay to have our Nemesis claw printed by Dakotah?
No, because here's the thing. A lot of things were said. I don't know.
It was on the table at one point in time. It was.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I think Jeshua was gaslighting me. But yeah, so Adrian had an amazing painted team, and he had the best record. So they gave him best overall. And then since I was at the final table, they gave me the best general. So we were like the 2 official golden ticket winners from the event.
Okay. That's fair. That's fun. Now, what's interesting, if we go back to that, Adrian already has a golden ticket. Chris already has a golden ticket. Matt Wilhelm got a golden ticket. Jimmy, you already have one. Jeshua, you already have one. So does that mean the second one? Do you guys know if the second one was at Tacoma?
We have no idea.
We've also talked about that, but we're assuming he got the ticket. We don't know that.
No idea.
Well, I guess we're going to have to find out. There was a couple oddities in this tournament. For instance, the last round, right? I think anyone who looks at this tournament sees a couple weird things. Connor took 0 points. Chad Morris took 24. James Lewis got 23. I reached out to a couple people, and I reached out to the TO on a couple questions I had about the tournament, but I didn't get anything back from GW. And these two, Connor dropped for various reasons, and then James Loomis also dropped for various reasons that I cannot get onto. But it's interesting because they both forfeited, but this is a 24-point win and a 23-point win. And we continue on. Here's a 21-point bye, right? And then we can go to the previous round, which is round 6. And round 6 had a bye for 16 points. And then round 5 had a bye for, where is it?
Dakotah. GW
20 points.
GW loves to live in the mysteries of the warp.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, it keeps going every single round.
Yeah.
There is a bye at different, a zero bye, a 0 bye, which ultimately screws over win percentage if people are actually losing games,
It sounds like you're questioning the God Emperor. I don't know if I would pursue these lines of questions.
Another 0 point bye. Anyone who played this person, it ultimately affects their win percentage because, again, we look at their win percentages from the final placings, and the event metrics are tournament points, opponent win percentage, victory points, right? So victory points actually matter, and so does opponent win percentage. It just seems really weird from a Games Workshop event to have so many inconsistencies. I wouldn't say, while it's expected from the past, from some stuff, from their past events, I still don't know why it's still happening.
Yeah. So here's some advice I have. If you plan to go to events, that are not run by the great almighty Dakotah.
And Giacomo. And Saya.
And Giacomo's like, I'm sorry, you're right. I feel so bad. I always give Dakotah the credit. And Giacomo's like, motherfucker, I'm over here. I'll pull the plug on you. Like, oh, damn, did your stream go down? How weird. Oh, maybe that's Dakotah. If he can get the stream up and go. Sorry, no, it's all of you. I refer to one singular person, but clearly it's not. But the squad games, if you go to a squad games tournament, have fun and get ready. If you go to a GW tournament, try your best, bring your best game, and then you'll find a new reason why you're disappointed.
Just like their model price is increasing.
Yeah. So there was like multiple times people come up to me and being like, "Hey, what's up with the pods? This is lame." Like my son was one of them. Multiple people are like, so many people hate pods for so many different reasons. And I was like, look, I'm over here dealing with my own problems, including being stuck in Seattle. I don't got time to talk about the pod issue. But it's when you have almost 100 people, you have a big event. There's so many things that can be frustrating, and I really do not like strength of schedule or opponent win percentage. And I've shared this thought, and I've been told I'm wrong. Stop talking. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like there's so many ways to complain about how it's run. I'm just emotionally placed, but I'm just going to find out the new way of why I'm disappointed when I go to events. So
yeah, opponent win percentage usually feels bad because you feel like the player doesn't have the option, like their destiny is no longer in their control.
Right? We have no control over.
You have no control over how well you do. Yeah. It's all up to your opponent. So it's more luck based rather than skill based at that point, based on your rankings.
And then when you have the TOs who people just lose games because they dropped rather than just dropping, like it ultimately affects the overall win percentage because it was done incorrectly. Right.
This is why at Atlanta last year, and I'm sure it's going to be the same this year for Worlds, GW makes a big deal. You finish all your games. They do not want anyone to walk out early because it's like their biggest metric. But still, if no one, when they drop, it really messes things up. Even if they don't drop, it's really weird that you do the best you can, then you just sit and wait and find out how did the people I beat do. And they could be a great player who gets a bad matchup on a bad board and gets beat. And they're like, well, clearly you're not that good because that guy you beat sucks. It's really it's a lot of feels bads because you have no control over it. And
it's worse at top tables. So anyone who drops in the top tables, it affects everyone else so much because they already had such a high win percentage. And then if you just drop, it makes it even worse, right? So and to anyone who's listening, if you're going to go to an event who is running opponent win percentage, try to make sure outside of circumstances outside of your control, make sure you try to stick around because it's the best thing that you can do for your opponents and yourself, right? So yeah.
And also, if you lose to me, just make sure you beat everyone else, please, for my sake. Do it for the jelly. That's all I ask. Just beat everyone else for the jelly.
If Kimmy Jelly, which I think is what Glass calls you, if Kimmy Jelly, if you hate him because he talks so much shit about your armies getting painted by other people, then lose every game on purpose after you lose to him.
I'm pretty sure that was Jeshua who said that. I don't know. I don't think that was me. That doesn't sound like something I would say. But yeah, so that win percentage thing is such a big deal. So last night we left the tournament, and there was three Kelting players in the top 8. Me, Jeshua, and Kellen. Kellen was the only person who was 3-1 who made top 8. And 3 hours later, or something like
it was 1 a.m.
It was much later. Yeah, he went to bed and he took a little nappy poo because he was sick. I was gonna make fun of him, like baby was tired, but he was sick, so he went home and he slept, and he was not feeling good.
He was also playing scouts, right?
So he was playing scouts. So there was almost three scouts, almost half of the top 8. Anyways.
Crazy.
So he went home and he slept and he woke up to a message being like, fuck you, you're out. And one person didn't submit their score. And so it got entered later.
He got dropped all the way to 16th.
Because it changed everyone's player win percentage. He went from 8th to 16th. Yeah, it was. And of course, 8th to 9th is the same thing. But so he went to sleep knowing I did it. Like I went 3-1, but I was the best 3-1, and he was, as far as like points and everything. He went 3-1, but one 3-1 player was going to go to the top 8, and he was like, I did it. I was the 3-1. He was not.
That's rough.
He was not. And that's such a rough thing.
Well, that's the other thing about pods is if you don't go undefeated. That's one thing I'm dreading about Nova. They're also doing pods, and it's only 8 players.
Yeah. No matter how many people go.
Yeah. So essentially, according to your opponent win percentage when you go, you're going to have to go 4-0 just to get into the top pod to have a chance to win. And if they have enough sold, you still might not be in the top pod, even if you go undefeated, which is crazy.
So here's what's funny. I think we're rabbit trailing so hard on this, but I was giving them one of the reasons is that if you just do by points, people are going to play sweaty and they're going to play so aggressive to stomp people to get these points. I'm probably saying this with so much more animosity than I want to have, but like you're going to play so aggressive and you're going to like just crush these people to get your points. It's going to make it a bad win experience. But like you cannot lose. Like if it's just points and you go 3-1, but you're like, okay, I got good points everywhere else. I'm the best 3-1. I'll be fine. But like you cannot lose your first game or your like if you to go 3-1 on strength of schedule or whatever. It's like you've got to be only the person who loses their last game has a chance. It's weird how it works out.
But also it's worse. It's worse in brackets.
Yeah.
Right. If it was pure Swiss, opponent win percentage is not bad. If no one drops, right? It's not bad whatsoever. It's just way worse in pods because you can feel completely defeated by not making it. You know what I mean? You lose one game and you might be in 32nd place. Like that's what happened last year's Nova with 64 players. Like people that were 3-1 were like locked into like between 36th and 24th. You know,
this guy right here, this guy.
You lost your first game, so you got down to the bottom brackets
by a single point to a guy who was top 8 and went to Worlds in a mirror match. It was so, and then I won all the rest. Good players, beat them handedly. I was points wise, I should have been in the top like 6 or something like that. Yeah, and it was 9th. It was like because my loss was the first loss, so everyone I played had already had a loss, so it skews it, so you can't come back.
Yeah,
so I think no matter what, if you want, like when you have pods and you have strength of schedule or opponent win percentage, it honestly makes you play a lot more sweaty because you cannot lose if you want a chance. Whereas if you just do full Swiss, I don't know. Anyways, it makes it rough.
With pods, even with the points, like you would still have to go undefeated in order to make it into this, right? But at least like you know your points rather than waiting until the end.
You have control.
At 1 a.m. when they pair the next round. It's like, oh, this is the new percentages. Sorry, my guy. So
yeah, no, it creates a lot of feels bad. I'm not trying to I think the event was Travis Chang ran it. I think he did a great job. Despite the fact that we've put out a lot of little issues or whatever, like most of it, his hands are tied by GW. It was run real smooth. It was a really nice event. I think it was run really well. There's little issues like that. A lot of the feels badge are just choices for how you do, rankings and stuff like that. And there's 100 people that all want to be the best, right?
Yeah, there's only one winner. Always only one.
Only one.
Right?
And
just like Hobby Highlander.
Everyone only be one.
Yeah. Everyone except Adrian feels like they did better than the number shows. Like I feel like I did better than 4th, and I could give you a thesis on why I feel I did better than 4th. But like everyone's like, oh man, I should have been a little bit better. And so like, I don't know. We all got our gripes. Adrian doesn't. Adrian's just like, yeah, I always win. That's what happens. I just show up, I win. And I go back to Brooklyn. I don't know.
I think the hardest thing about having a tie also in the bracket format, the way GW does it, if Chris and Adrian would have, because in the packet, it also says there is no ties, and then they tied. It does say that, like, no matter what, even if you lost your bracket, you would be in second, no matter how bad you lost, because you're in the top pairings, and that's just how it worked out. That's how it works out with GW events. And then the other two people would be 3rd and 4th. The other two people would be 5th and 6th. 7 and 8th. And like, who knows if they actually held to that with this event, but every other event that there's been a bracket, that's how it's happened. So
yeah, like, kind of like a what do you call it? The tournament style bracket where you have like winners play winners and it goes down. So I think that should be a thing. If you do brackets, it should be like, if you get to the top table, it should be first and second. I'm tired of losing the very final match and dropping to fourth. It happened with when Jeshua won his golden. Him and I were the top table at Magnolia Open, and like, this is just how it works. So like, he beat me and shamed me in front of my fans. They were my fans. Now they're his fans. Like, people on Florida are like, oh, it's the kid, and then they see me like, I jumped on.
Dude, they don't even remember who you are.
No, I jumped on the live stream for Battle Brothers earlier, like with Battle Brothers, the Kill Team Casuals with Battle Brothers and all that. And I was talking. They're like, "Oh, is this the kid's dad?" I'm like, "Get out of here with that! The kid's dad! Come on!" Like, I have a name, sir, and it was given to me by a bald British man. I am Kimmy Jelly. Like, you remember? Anyways, but yeah. So now, yeah. Anyways, he shamed me and stole all my fans from America's Wing, and so now they're his. Anyways, but yeah. So I went from, we were both the top tables. We went undefeated. I lost that game, dropped to fourth, like a loser.
Well, what's even worse is LVO. Chris Baki was, I believe, in second place.
Yeah.
And then he lost his final match against the person who won, and he dropped all the way to 11th. So like, the bigger the player pool is, the worse it can be. But that's Swiss, and that's just how it is in Swiss. You know, like like SOS has its problems, opponent win percentage has its problems.
Yeah.
Swiss has its problems. It is what it is. Like, there's no perfect tournament organizing format. It's just like what the TO essentially prefers. So
exactly. But yeah, no, it's if you do pods though, I like the idea of that bracket. Like, which sucks. So if you lose your first round of pods, then it's like, oh, you're in the loser. That's tough. But if you make the final table, I think the final table should be first and second. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, that's my thing.
That's fair. Before we jump into scouts, I wanted to. Do you guys both have a favorite game that you played? A favorite opponent at Tacoma that you'd like to shout out?
Yes.
Favorite opponent? I really enjoyed playing against Connor from the Cats team.
The Admech man himself.
Game. Yep.
Did he 1-2 you, beat boop you?
He definitely beat boop me a little bit.
Yeah. 0011100. I have no idea what I just said. I said something, but
you'd have to say a lot more 0 and 1s.
Yeah, there would have to be a lot more in there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just made the number 1. So
something like that.
Yeah. So yeah. So Connor, was your favorite match?
I think I'd have to think about it more, but that's the match that immediately sticks out in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What made you like that matchup so much?
He was just really friendly when he first, and he's like positive all the time, and it was like, I had played against other Cats members before, so he was excited to be able to play against me, and just that friendliness was nice.
Yeah, he's the one who said. Apparently, I guess the Cats community was excited for a chance to play a California Kill Team player.
Yeah.
So
and he learned. He learned.
They were eager for the purple. So, but yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So I don't know if I'd have a favorite. I do have a favorite, but it's tough. There was a lot of great matches. Actually, I really love the Pacific Northwest. The area in general. Yeah. Like, I was really disappointed to be stranded here for a day in my Gypsy Motel, which actually I like the Gypsy Motel. It's comfortable and casual. And I went gambling with them. They were having some games outside. I lost all my money, which I might be here longer now because of that. But like, it's fun. Like, it's really cool. So anyways, I love that, like, we went to Seattle, toured the area. The area is beautiful. The people here are so nice. So of all the tournaments I've been to, there's only 2 tournaments I prefer for different reasons. One, overall experience, AVTT. It is genuinely the best tournament. And I think it's because it eases off the gas. Look at that.
Whoa.
I'm like,
it's like I had it ready.
Oh, it's almost like a transition. So, I think Dakota knows the guy who runs that tournament.
I know.
Giacomo doesn't. He just runs the stream and makes us all look good. So AVTT, because I think it eases the gas. They're still competitive. People want to win, right? And also this year, people really want to win because there's 3 golden tickets. So, 3 golden tickets. That's crazy. So
your whole team gets to go if you win. And if like a team already has 3 golden tickets that wins, then it all gets passed down to team number 2.
Yeah.
I have a question. Cool. What happens if only a certain number of the players on a team have golden tickets? Does one get passed down to a player? How do they pick that?
So the next one would get dropped down to the next team, and they would go to the best performing player on that team.
Okay.
Because there are individual rankings on that teams.
I'm gonna throw out an idea. Instead of going to the best performing player, 3-way boxing match.
I could be down with that. But we might have to schedule it in Nevada where like fighting.
Okay.
We do a Joker style.
It's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that. We're going to do transition. I set you up. You set me up. The other tournament I went to that was my favorite was not actually yours in Las Vegas, Dakotah. I loved.
If you say Worlds, I swear.
No, I'm not going to say Worlds. What am I, a weirdo?
Yeah. I was like, we all know where you placed on that one.
Yeah. Oh, no. You know, sir.
I'm sorry.
I wasn't feeling good that day. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I don't practice and I show up and drink. I don't even know what happened. I don't know. Anyways, okay. We're not going to talk about Worlds ever again, Dakotah.
Yeah, you're right.
We have a vow that I break every time. Anyways, Jeshua and I, for his 16th birthday, we went to Vegas, and there was a chiller, Liam, ran a small doubles tournament.
Cool.
And we just thought, just for fun, we're going to show up, spend some time in Vegas, because every 16-year-old wants to spend their birthday in Vegas. It was fun. We played video games. We just it was cool. There was like cool arcades. Good. Anyways, so Jeshua went to Vegas. We joined this random doubles. Jeshua brought his friend who went to Tacoma today and went 3-1 day 1. That was cool.
Yeah. Nice.
But so Jeshua taught his friend how to play, and they were a team because he didn't want to play with me. Mean. And I just picked up a random guy from the community that I had never met before, and we played as a team. And we just joined this doubles tournament. It was just like really casual. It was really fun. And I drank like a monster and just had a fun time with the Vegas community. And like, they travel, and like we've seen them at Midsummer. A bunch of these guys will show up to different events. And Liam and Chiller was at Tacoma, and Robert, who's from Reno, who we've met other like LVO and some of the other events. The Vegas guys, they travel. Yeah. So they both were at Tacoma, but that small doubles tournament was just, the guys were so friendly and really cool. The Nevada community is a really cool kill team community. So that was like, I think they're bringing 10 to LVO from Vegas, and I think 3 are coming from Reno. So 13 from Nevada. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So cool. Yeah, the Nevada community is really starting to grow, and they're just really awesome people with a great energy. And then the AVTT is the like overall for the tournament as far as feel and experience was great, but Tacoma was amazing. The people were really cool. Like so many of my games, just some of the friendliest people. I love the Pacific Northwest. Brandon Bean was like the ambassador of the Pacific Northwest.
I talked to him on the phone the other day.
No, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
You talk to everyone on the phone, Dakotah. That means nothing.
Yeah,
he calls everybody. He really does.
Yeah, no, it was really. You talk to I find out gossip about my team from Dakotah that came from the East Coast that came from Europe. So
you're not wrong.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, some guy in Europe called some guy in New York who called me, and I heard this about you. I'm like, what? Anyway, so yeah, Dakotah talks to everyone on the planet every day. If you're watching this, you've probably had a phone call with Dakotah today. So
probably did.
If you haven't, you should be upset because you're the only person on earth who hasn't. Anyways,
yeah, people are like, I'd rather text. I'm like, well, sorry. I'm not that kind of friend.
Don't text Dakotah; he'll call your ass right away.
And listen to look at Giacomo. He knows. He knows.
We should ask your wife. And she's like, I've heard there's times she's like, "Is this another call?" how long you been talking to Gimme Jelly this time? And he's like, it's been all day. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you have two phones and you're talking to two people at the same time and no one, I don't know how you fit it all in.
You can't expose my secrets, Jim.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm like the emperor, right? We have the two eagle heads, you know?
His secret is Chat GPT in a voice box, you know?
Yeah. So Brandon,
that AI program.
Yeah, Brandon Bean that guy is just a class act. He was picking up there's a lot of people from California that came, Baki, several Cal team members, and he was picking people up from the airport, getting people to the tournament. He offered to give up his bed for people.
Wow.
Because in our little gypsy hotel with 2 queen beds, we had 6 people in this room. That was not the plan, but other people did not plan accordingly, and they called me up and they're like, hey, I'm going to be homeless in Seattle because the hotels were full. And so our room was quite full.
Did you crank the AC?
Yeah. We did. It did not crank high enough. The gypsies do not like very efficient air conditioning. I don't think it did anything. Anyways, but dude, Brandon Bean was such a class act. He was went out of his way to make sure people got where they needed to help people out. But everyone here was really cool. So all that to say, my favorite game was Chad, who ran Corsairs. And that's a tough pick because there was a lot of really great games. I had a really awesome mirror match from the Wormblade player. My first match was against Zach, who did Hearthkin, and that was a tough match. I think someone on here said like Hearthkin's not very good, and I struggled. That was like I got it, but it was on loot, and like it took a lot. I had to dig deep to get that win. So maybe Hearthkin aren't really that bad. Just saying. I don't know. I'm just saying.
You know, we went over this, Jimmy. We
did, and you were wrong, and we're going to go over it again.
I mean, are we when that scouts? Are we when scouts can just booby trap up the field so that
I'm reversed?
Yeah, I got it confused too.
It's that way. So okay, so our screen is flipped. So to the viewers,
all of ours are flipped.
I'm actually sitting on the right side, and Giacomo put some kind of witchcrafting because he knew I wasn't going to give him credit for squad games tournaments. So he's like, I'm going to mess this guy up and flip him around. So anyway, all right. So yeah, there was so many great matchups. Like my final with Adrian, I had to play Jesh too. That was rough.
Yeah,
it was.
He got revenge for the Florida tournament.
But yeah, so Chad ran Corsairs, and I played him on Into the Dark, and boy, I started off
strong on ITD.
Yeah, man. He had some great moves. It was a really great match. He really pulled out some strong stuff, and it was fun. And like the biggest thing is like I like to play. Like obviously I like to do well, but it's a game, and I want to be able to have a fun experience. Like even if I win and it's not a fun experience and it's too tense, every time I have those games, I feel like, why am I even doing this? And when you play a game where you just really feel like friends after the game's over, regardless of who wins, that's quality stuff.
That is.
But Chad, but to say Chad was my favorite doesn't mean that every game was great.
Right.
Every game was just a fantastic game. One of the just as a whole, the community here is just fantastic. Like if we just didn't bring in these dirty New Yorkers, I think it would have been better. Who let the East Coast in? Couldn't we have just had this tournament without the East? That would have been fine. Just don't. Anyways.
Hey, they paid to get there.
Yeah,
Adrian won LVO too. You know, it's not like he's bad.
It's what he does. I don't like it. But
it's not like Mandrakes or S tier. I don't know.
Yeah,
it
was funny. So at that tournament, we had the Cats. That's the big team in Pacific Northwest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Baki showed up, so we had the Bats, and then Adrian's we had the Rats.
Yeah,
the Rats. So we had Cats, Bats, and Rats.
I've been trying to get New York to come to AVTT because then I'm going to convince like a random team just to call themselves like Pest Control or something, you know?
Oh, that'd be fun.
That's solid. I think maybe Kel team. Yeah, I think maybe one of us. Yeah. We just got to convince. We just have to convince New York to come out. You know, we do.
I'm trying. Dude,
if you play Kill Team and you care about it and you're watching this, like you're such a loser if you don't come out. Like what kind of bullshit excuse for life are you living? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I need money to live. No, spend your money, come to AVTT. Like credit cards will eventually be paid off. They probably won't, but I don't know. Like you should do it
one day.
Yeah.
Well,
that's a future problem.
Yeah, AVTT is a kill team tournament, and it's a 1v1v1 match done in sword and shield style, and it is the largest kill team event on Earth. We'll see if WTC can beat us this year, but we've held the record for the past 2 years. So I think we did 42 year one and 58 year two. So we're trying to hit over 100 this year. So
so you know what I think it is? You know what I think it is about AVT that makes it so fun? When you do a tournament, no matter how well you do, no matter how big the tournament is, your round ends and you go and find people and be like, you won't believe it. I beat this guy. And they're like, I won't believe it because I don't care. I don't care that you won, or I don't care that you lost. You try to tell someone like, man, I would have won if I didn't lose that last initiative roll. They're like, get out of my face. I don't care about you. Like, no one cares. You do good, you do bad. Everyone's focused on their own. They have their next matchup and they're trying to look up and be like, all right, who am I playing? What's this? Like, you get so wrapped up in yourself. With AVTT, win or lose, there's people that are so vested with you and they're so excited about how you're doing. Because like, you can have it on both sides. You can do poorly and your team did well and you're excited for them. If you all do bad, you're just like, you commiserate together. You just cuddle in a big pile and cry. That may have happened. I may have done that once or twice. But like,
I would like to remind you didn't lose a single game at AVT last year.
Wow.
Okay. But the first year,
but your team did.
Oh, dude,
Ooh. He had to tie
Jimmy,
their backs while they cried.
Jimmy just took all the easy matches. So let's be honest.
Okay.
Well, I do want to show you guys something.
Yes.
I don't think anyone has seen it, not even Giacomo. Nope. But I did get something in the mail for the 3 first prize winners for AVTT on top of all the enormous prize support we typically do, as long as my big laser's working, but it'll still be a lot.
I think too much prize support.
Black belt for the three winners. And yes, this is a karate black belt. And yes, the All Valley is supposed to be like the All Valley team tournament from the Karate Kid, because we're really close to the Valley here. So why not?
I like that
true.
a lot. Mm-hmm. So if I win and get that black belt, can I officially say I am a black belt?
Yep.
Legally, right?
You kill team black belt, yeah.
Kill team black belt, yes.
Do I have to legally add the kill team?
Yeah.
I can say I have a black belt. Like in what?
Yeah, you would own a black belt at that point.
Yeah.
I own a black belt for like my pants. I don't know if it counts though. So see, I have to tell you what it is. So you got to take skill team black belt. You know.
Unfortunately, I only have purple belts. So
I wouldn't be. I am not surprised.
Yeah,
I am not surprised
that I have only purple belts. Yeah. It's kind of my thing.
Really.
Last random side tangent of why I like the Pacific Northwest. I was walking through Seattle. Yeah, you know.
I know that.
Yeah, you know that. Yeah. So we're walking through Pike's Marketplace in Seattle. Lovely area. If you've had Pike's Place coffee from Starbucks, that's where it's from. And we're walking by, and on the side of a building, there's a big sign that says the Purple Store. Do you know what they sell there at the Purple Store?
Every conceivable thing you can think of is purple.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's funny you say purple because they have purple furniture there too. They had a giant purple throne. It's a lot of money, and guess who may have that purple throne in their workshop soon? I didn't buy it yet. I'm going to.
I saw a picture of you in it, and I was wondering where you found a purple throne at.
Right? Yeah. In the Purple Store. So,
I wonder where this came from. Right?
You took off my hat.
I wonder where that came from.
I was wondering about the head, actually.
Thank you. Yeah. I guess I should say thank you, because you wondering isn't necessarily a positive thing. Anyways, but yeah, no, I walked through and I was like, look, we walked in obviously wearing purple, even not in the kill team match is kind of what we do. And as we walked in, the owner came up and he's like, look, I've got questions. Like this is more purple than even we are used to seeing. Like
in the Purple Store.
Yeah, like are you guys? Do you own purple? Like, do we need to pay you royalties? I was like, yes. So we might have spent more money during the whole trip at the Purple Store than anywhere else.
Now you got to get them to sponsor you guys.
Yo,
see,
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, they sponsor us.
Oh my god,
we are going to become their models.
Yeah,
there you go.
Exactly.
Yes. Oh, Dakotah, this is why we're friends. This is it. All right. All right, Kel Team sponsors.
Yep, we're purple sponsor.
Yeah, they help you get to the events, like Tacoma.
Yeah,
hey,
there you go.
yeah.
So I bought purple shoes, a purple hat. Jeshua had a whole purple tracksuit.
I bought 2 entire purple outfits.
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, just so.
I'm excited to see one of them at All Valley because it's a 2-day event. Like how I wrapped it back in there?
I guess I'm not allowed to wear this because I'm not part of the true Kel team. I got abandoned like a traitor.
Yeah, we're on different teams for AVTT.
Yeah, well, you can only fit 3, so if you're bringing 6 or you're bringing 9, you have to
split up.
A, B, and C.
He's abandoning me for someone who's not even Kelty. So
I like how
I feel about that.
I like how when Bats came last year, there was the A team, the B team, and the T team because of BAT Bat. So it wasn't like silly kill team players.
Oh, and indeed we are.
Mm.
So we're gonna move over to scouts now.
Yes.
Now what's interesting? What's interesting is that you guys, I have had multiple conversations with Kel Team, and Kel Team is very opinionated on how the new scouts should be played. You guys do not think they're a stat check team like everyone else is saying online. Mm-hmm. And since I talk to you guys a lot, and you guys are the most competitive team in Southern California, I tend to listen. Right when you guys
in the United States, when you guys play so well at tournaments, I try to listen. I try to listen to a lot of people. So when you guys are saying scouts aren't this, I'm like, okay, well, why don't you guys tell us more? So,
okay, well, here's the thing. I would say that it's not that they completely are not stat check. I would say it's that they have good stats on top of plenty of tricks to help that. So, for one, I think one of their most useful tricks is that the scouting steps. That I'd say that's definitely considered very useful, and it's very adaptable based on your opponent. So, I typically, in my matchups, I need to determine whether my opponent's taking like a shooty horde team, melee horde team, if they're taking elites, or if they're taking someone in between like Falgor or Eldari. And then once I've done that and both determined what type of board I'm on, then I can finally chip pick which of my 5 scoutings I want. And there's always going to be like most likely 2 dashes in there, so you're almost always doing that. And then depending on the type of board or opponent, a booby trap is really nice. It's especially useful into melee teams because it's most effective when they're charging or dashing through it. And it could really screw up some game plans if you just have one of your key models stuck out in the open.
So for anyone that's just joining in, that's never been a part of our podcast or seen us before or listened, Jesh, do you want to tell us exactly what this... So the other thing that we have to remember is that there's going to be a lot of brand new players looking at this podcast, a lot of brand new players coming in from YouTube who has never seen our type of content before, right? So do you want to tell us what the forward scouting ability is for scouts?
Yes. So once both players have finished deploying all their models, you do the forward scouting before the scouting phase of the turn. So there looks like 8 different options to choose from, and each of them has a limited number of times you can use them. For one, you can redeploy a model and switch its engagement up to 5 times. That's something you can do. You can do up to 2 extra recon dashes, also with fly. You can take up to 2 infiltrates, so you have 2 more switches if you take a 3rd one. And then you can do a booby trap, which is you put it somewhere not on an objective and not within 6 inches of your opponent's deployment zone. And whenever an enemy operative first walks within 2 of that, they stop, I roll a dice, and if they moved into it on a 4-up, they get stuck there and take equal to that number of mortal wounds. So let's say
rather good on beta decimal.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's say I rolled a 5, they take 5 mortal wounds, but if they charge or dash into it, it adds a 1 to the roll. So it means they take 1 extra damage and it goes off on a 3. So if I roll a 4, they take 5. Yeah, on a 50-50 or on a 66-33 if they're charging or dashing.
And now this only happens once, and it's only the very first time.
Yes, it goes away as soon as it goes off. If it doesn't go off, you roll a 1, 2, or a 3, or a 1 or a 2, then it just stays there until it goes off.
Got it.
Another option is the triple arm, which it can go on an objective. The only requirement is it's not within 6 of the deployment zone. The first time a concealed operative walks within 2 inches of it, they are treated as being engaged for the rest of the turn, which of course doesn't matter if they have super conceal, but it's a way to potentially put an objective that's out in the open and get shots off if they're not careful.
That's really good for. That's really, really good for people that are like, if somebody puts a barricade on because that's what they're going to be protected by,
right?
All of a sudden you can't do that anymore.
Yep, doesn't matter anymore.
But now that one, like some teams might try to use obscurity to.
Yep.
Oh, I'm probably getting ahead.
Oh, yeah, you're getting a little bit ahead.
Yeah. Well,
whoopsies.
Scouts
can ignore
circle back.
Well,
Yeah.
So the last three options are you can generate an extra CP, which is pretty helpful. You can designate a target, which just means you pick one enemy operative and you get a balanced reroll whenever making a shooting or melee attack against them for the rest of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is you pick an enemy operative and you stun it. And that's also really good. So depending on the team you're going against, if they have certain alpha strikes or if they don't, if you determine all these things beforehand, and it helps gives them the tricks and adaptability they need to face certain teams.
And how many of these things can they select? I know each one is limited, 5.
Yeah, they can take a total of 5.
So a lot of this team's power comes from up front, right? Like a lot of their thought process is determining right then at their. So like if this team didn't have this, they wouldn't be nearly as good, correct?
That's why they're not. I would agree. Yeah.
Okay, that's why they're not a stat check team.
I think that's one of the things that makes them not a stat check team.
Okay, cool. What else do you have for us? Now, a lot of people have been asking us, Scout Sergeants, do you take them with the bolt gun and fists, the bolt pistol and chainsword, or the Astartes shotgun and fists?
I will say this right now, you are never going to take that shotgun in your entire life. So the way I determine whether I'm taking either the chainsword or the bolt gun is based off the team my opponent is playing. If they are playing a horde team that has generally not mostly 8 and less wounds, so 7 to 8 wound teams, I like the chainsword leader because it gives him the opportunity to double kill. He's in their face and he's still able to shift out that APL. And against teams that like elites or that have stronger melee that you're generally not going to want to potentially sacrifice your leader to, the bolt gun would be the better option, I'd say.
Okay.
So basically, it's more of like a mathematical thing. You're determining, there's some exceptions, but you're determining what math would be better in certain teams. So like Vedguard, Brood Brothers, teams like that, the board might change your decision, but I think the chainsword's better into teams that have 8 or less moves.
Fair. Now for scouts, right? There's also discussion on what operatives to bring. Now, could you break down into the different various teams? Because I'm sure it changes.
Yeah.
What you typically bring and why for your roster selection into those teams.
Yeah. So generally, we'll start off with shooting hordes. So my roster build out into shooting hordes. Let's say on a regular open map with regular amount of heavy cover, they can stay safe for the most part. So I would take the sergeant with the chainsword, the tracker, the hunter, the heavy bolter, the sniper. Then I would take 4 shotgun warriors and 1 combat blade warrior. I would drop the missile launcher entirely.
Okay.
I would say that because generally my thought process for that is the missile launcher, he can be really good at getting kills and he can force your opponent to think about spacing out. But the shotgun warrior or the combat blade warrior, whichever one you perceive you're switching them out for, they are so much better at running up the board and being a problem for your opponent. They are controlling the board rather than just killing things, which I think is more important, especially into teams that have so many bodies. You just need to be up there controlling. So you'd have like 6 or 7 models up there controlling while you have some support from the gunners.
So you'd rather have the pressure rather than some sort of area denial.
Right. I would rather have the pressure than the potential to get a pregame or like an early game advantage.
Okay.
And then into teams that like in between, or let's say melee and teams that have 9 to 10 bodies with like 9 to 10 wounds, I would take.
So like your orcs, your Blades of Cain.
Orcs. So Felgor is a very unique matchup. Okay. I think Felgor and Commandos are both going to have generally the same roster build out. Okay. I would probably take the. I haven't played the matchup yet, but I want to take the chainsword into Felgor and the bolt gun into Commandos. because the chainsword into commandos is risky, since they have just a scratch and you could be taking a lot of punchback. But the chainsword, you're going to need to be doing you got to kind of have to fight the Felgor. So I would take the sergeant with the chainsword, heavy bolter, sniper, tracker, hunter, 3 combat blade warriors, and 2 shotgun warriors, and Felgor.
Okay.
And then the only difference between that loadout and commandos is I would change the leader's weapon. Otherwise, I would still take 3 combat blades and 2 shotguns.
Fair. And now, does that go for Eldar teams as well? Like the Eldari teams?
So for Eldar teams, you're always going to want to have 1 combat blade to support you. But for teams like Eldar that almost always have 8 wounds all around, the shotguns are just so nasty and destructive.
They hit on 2s. Yeah.
They hit on you pay for gunfire ambush. They're all concealed turn 1. You're pretty much guaranteed 4 hits. And you walk up to an Eldar, say you're dead. That's 1 model. I'm better 1-for-1 trading. What are you going to do now? So yeah. The shotguns, they can't handle all of them at once, and they're just going to get shot off the board.
See, that sounds like a stat check. That sounds like a stat check.
That's like I said.
Well, so I think they're a team that they have stat check ability. They have so many bodies, so many wounds, put out so much damage. That's like the biggest thing you see. That's in your face. But when you have all that, and then you're like, oh, by the way, you can't move through this corridor without possibly on a dice roll being stuck out in the open and then just dying. When you have, we'll get to some of the other abilities too.
Yeah.
But like they have a big front wall of stat check. And I think when you superficially see the team, that's the biggest thing you see.
Yeah.
You see 10 bodies with a ton of wounds that deal a ton of damage on good rolls with rerolls. You can hit on 2s and 3s with rerolls. They have so much going on. But then it's like, no, it gets worse. And that's where I think a lot of people aren't seeing the true potential. And I think it's still going to take a while to get the true potential of the team.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of complexity to it. And the more you realize that in addition to this massive wall of wounds and damage, that you also, like everything we're going to be talking about. But so I guess like we're not saying there isn't a stat check with this team.
Yeah, what I was generally going for is they have the stat check aspects and they have the tricks to push them even farther than that.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just pulling your Jesh.
Yes.
So if we want to take a quick pause, this is thrown out a lot. And Jesh asked me earlier, I think this is a good question. We say stat check team a lot.
Yeah.
So for you guys, what is your quintessential? I had 2 teams I thought of were the best example of stat check. Let's say outside of scouts. So what do you guys think are good stat check teams?
Well, Intercession used
Intercession, yeah, that's what I was
Used
going
to
to
be.
say.
That was, I think that's definitely, that was one of my 2 choices. I had a second one that I think is definitely a stat check team, too.
I want to say Commandos.
I would say Commandos or Felgor.
That's what I said. I said Commandos, but
I disagreed because Commandos actually, how you play them, it's too, like, you know, like, I don't know. They have a lot more in their stats. They have deployed, charge from conceal.
No, you're right.
Just to scratch. They have a lot of other stuff. But I can understand, like, because once again, the biggest thing you see is a wall of heavy bodies that's tough and they deal a lot of damage. So here's my take. Oh, I'll give you a hint. I think it's a compendium team.
Oh, is
Demons.
it?
Yes.
All right.
Really? Oh, I was going to say Custodes.
Demons. Yeah, 12 bodies with wounds and they just deal a lot of damage.
Yeah,
like,
they're insane.
yeah, their biggest, like if you take like double plague bearers, what's their only tactical ploy they can use? Like heal. Like, give them more wounds. That's like, all right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is
they're
like
probably the biggest stat check of stat checks.
Yeah.
If we're just going basic of basic. Yeah. Them,
Yeah,
and I'd say Custodes could be just because they're so strong, but they have a lot of complexity to that team rather than just like demons is just
because they have double activations, injury, no crits. They have some stuff on top of stats.
Absolutely.
And if you like to think poorly of Compendium, just go ahead and find yourself a Chaos Demon player. Get that match in. You have fun taking 12 Plague Bearers off the board. That is a nightmare.
Shout out to James Robinson.
Yeah. If you play James Robinson, tell me how easy it is to take those guys off the board.
And Orion,
They're the 2 U.S. Chaos Demon players. Oh, and there's always the Alexander Popov and a Strawberry.
And a Strawberry. Shout out to Alex.
There's another East Coast player too, because ACO someone took Chaos Demons to podium, and it wasn't Orion.
Oh.
Yeah, so they're out there. So find one in your community, play that game, and you can realize the pain of Chaos Demons. They are unpleasant.
Some would say they're disgusting and resilient.
Yeah. Knew it was coming.
I'm going home.
All right. I apologize for the rabbit trail, but
You're fine.
thank you for that's my TED talk on stat check teams. All right.
So there's two final teams that we haven't discussed, right? We have the stereotypical balanced teams, right? Other than commandos and the other guys. Unless if they match yours, like I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them. I could pull them up.
Yeah.
And then there's also elites. So what do you take into stereotypical 10-man team?
Into a stereotypical 10-man team, we're talking like
novitiates.
Yeah, novitiates. Kasrkin.
Okay, novitiates, Kasrkin. Okay, I would probably still stick with the 4 shotguns, 1 blade route because of their wounds and math.
So it's more of a wound characteristic that you're looking at,
right? I'm looking more at the wounds,
rather than like what the team does innately.
Okay.
There are some times where the team itself, like their innate abilities and stuff, will change the roster, but it's more of a wound. It's more of a math thing. Yeah, you're looking at the wounds and what your melee and shooting is.
So, like, for instance, would you like Brood Brothers? Because these are the top things that people are going to be seeing at tournaments right now. Yeah. Until we get a change, we're going to be seeing Mandrakes. Mandrakes, you would take the same?
I would take 4 shotguns, 1 blade.
Brood Brothers?
I would take 4 shotguns, 1 blade.
Commandos? Same? Right?
No, Commandos, I would take 3 blades, 2 shotguns because they have 10 wounds.
That's right. Because all you need is a crit and a hit, right?
If they don't justice scratch, yeah. And you have a ploy to where if they're already activated, you can turn on rending, which is helpful. So
and flip a hit to a crit.
Now, I noticed, Jesh, one of your only losses was to Wormblade. What would you take into Wormblade, and why are they so difficult for scouts to deal with?
I despise this man right here for that team specifically.
I think we all hate Wormblade players. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, and everyone also hates
damn Gene Stealers. All right. So in the Wormblade matchup, I did also take 4 shotguns in 1 blade because they do have the option to take 1 or 2 good melee operatives that have more than 8 wounds, which the shotgun math isn't really great for. But other than that, all the other bodies are 7 wounds, saving on 5s. The shotguns are just cleaning them up so easy. The problem with that team is they have access to rerolls, which makes their 4s...
A lot of rerolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a lot of rerolls, which makes their 4s reliable. So they have like mining laser, seismic cannon, countermorph, locust, the sniper if they take that. They have the grenade launcher. They have like, I think half their team can reliably seriously injure or take off a scout in 1 activation. And they are able to far more effectively get those kills turn 1 than scouts are. So I think what makes the matchup hard, especially on open board, I've got the matchup on Into the Dark, it makes it far more balanced. But on open, they can just kill. Like what happened to me is 2.5 models died turn 1 because I couldn't keep them safe. And they just get such an early advantage turn 1, even though the scouts are meant to be a turn 1 team.
Gotcha. So they do the turn 1 a little better than
I think what makes Wormblade better than scouts is their ability to do turn 1 better than them.
Interesting. Okay, that's fair. I mean, that's very fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Wormblade are the quintessential glass cannon. They deal so much power. Their guys are meant to die. They're meant to be sacrificed. You don't expect any of these models to survive. So when
much like Fat Guard and Pathfinders.
Yeah, exactly. And so scouts will kill them, of course, but we outbody scouts. And so as my guys are dying to his shotguns or whatever, it's like, yeah, that's fine. That was supposed to die. But if we can, if we can trade 1v1, it's a losing match.
Yeah.
And my guys can do free mission actions. It can be there's a lot of things. Wormblade has a lot of tools and abilities.
Yeah. And when you're synergizing those tools with their ability to kill models, it made it really hard to control the board.
Mm-hmm.
So into scout squads, the mirror
match?
Yeah. What about that?
3 blades, 2 shotguns. They have 10 wounds. You're charging and killing them and cleaning up with shotguns.
So it looks like it's mostly like wound math that you're looking at more than it is outside of a couple teams.
Yeah, there are a few teams exceptions that I'll get into later, but if they have 9 to 10 wounds, I'm going more blades. If they're elites, okay, we'll go into elites now.
Yeah,
if they're elites, then have 12 to 14. Some elites have 11 wounds. But I would be taking 3 shotguns and 2 blades, because the blades, they are scary for elites, but you're not going to realistically charge an elite with a blade and kill it just because you have 4 attacks and they have 5, they have more wounds. You're not going to really get 2 crits that they can't parry out. So what the idea into elites is, after, like, there's obviously the turn 1, you're getting more shots off, you're trying to do as much damage as you can turn 1. But the shotguns, they move up and just pump them in the face, do like most likely 8 wounds, maybe 4. They put them in the range where the swords just easily pick them up. They clean them off the table afterward. So the idea is use the shotguns as the front line with the swords right behind them. And you don't really want to let them fight your swords. And even if they do, the shotguns can clean them up after that because they're doing 6 wounds back. But the idea is punch them with the shotguns, clean up with the blades.
Do you think that they would struggle into any current elite teams?
So here's the thing. I've thought about this a lot, and we've played the Nemesis Claw matchup at Nemesis Claw. They can't really handle the 10 scouts. Intercession definitely can't. But I've theory crafted Nurgle Legionary being a tough matchup for them, because they can't be injured, they can't be stunned. They're subtracting the damage, so the shotguns become 3/4, and they autosave crits. So they're probably doing like 3 damage to a Nurgle Legionary model, which isn't doing much for the break points. I guess it kind of is, but they're tougher. They're melee powerhouses. I think they might be. I think it could be a problem. I think Scouts still have a favorable matchup into them, but I think it's definitely the most problematic.
And the Anointed.
Yeah, the Anointed is good luck killing that thing.
That's fair. Before we move on to the rest of the team, do you think that there's any just like innate counters that exist for Scouts right now?
Innate counters, as in play specifically, or teams?
Teams.
I think the closest to an innate counter that exists for Wormblade, or not Wormblade, Scouts right now is Wormblade.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So moving through the through the book as we see it, anyone can go and find this book on Warhammer, the Warhammer.com, the
war community.
Yeah, that's Warhammer community. Archetype, and do you always take infiltration or recon, or does it vary into teams?
There's slight variation, but I took recon every single game at the tournament, and there was only one game where I didn't max it. I got 5 points. You're getting I got 5 to 6 points every single game. So,
do you take 3 recons, or do you actually take one of their tac ops?
I take one of their tac ops. Okay, every single game. I took gather reconnaissance.
Okay, so what is this gather reconnaissance?
Gather reconnaissance is you reveal at turning point of any target reveal step at any turning point. I would always reveal it 4th turn. What you do is you reveal it. If a model does the gather reconnaissance mission action within 6 deployment, you get 1 point, and if they survive, or if anyone who did it survives, you get a 2nd point. So it's auto scoring into the dark, because as soon as you see any flank starting to even get slightly weak, you take courier along with it, so you get courier and that 4 points right there. It's stupid.
Well, that is a little stupid.
There you go.
Good job for figuring that out.
Yeah.
And now all of you guys know it too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think I took literally the same exact 3 tac ops every single game. I took recover item, courier, and gather reconnaissance. And I only didn't get it once because it was against Connor. What? Oh, I got 5 points against him too. So there were.
Look at you lying over here. Dad calling you out.
Yeah. So both those games, I forget if it was the courier point that was stopped, or if it was the gather reconnaissance point that was stopped, but they were able to kill and stop one of those 2 points for either time.
Gotcha. Okay, look at Jimmy being so mean to his son.
I hit him regularly.
So that's good for the tac ops. It looks like they can regularly score at least 5 points if you're not inting your guys forward and just having them die.
Should we give an honorable mention for other attack ops, or just talk?
Yeah, go for
I
it.
think the Gatherer Surveillance is a great one.
Yeah, I think.
What's your second favorite?
My second favorite, I think all three of their faction attack ops I have some play, but I, in practice games, liked From All Angles on certain boards, because you could have a gunner on both sides, and then any shotgun runs up and does some damage, you're getting that all turns. I feel like it's super easy, because your sniper, you're never getting...
You want to explain what it is?
Oh yeah, From All Angles is, if you do damage with 3 different models in 3 different, quarters of the board, which are, the 4 halves, then
4 quarters.
Yeah, the 4 quarters. Then you get a point. So it doesn't have to be any specific 3, just 3 of them, and it's helpful because it can be yours too. So you just have a gunner on 1 quarter and then the gunner on the other half of the board, and then as soon as a shotgun runs up to the opponent's half, then if they do any wounds, you get a point, and you do it again, you get another point.
I think that's a good one for if you're still learning the team.
Yeah,
because it'll score almost innately.
Yeah.
Because the way the team works is if you want to run it like a stat check team, you've got to be dealing damage. And you'll have a sniper in the back or a gunner in the back and at least one person up forward doing damage. So then if you just have a second gunner or a second shotgun, it just kind of works out. You're going to get at least 3 shots off that do damage at least 2 different turns. It's pretty hard not to score.
Yeah.
So...
Fair.
The reason I wouldn't have taken it in some of the matchups or the boards is because the way the boards were, there was generally only 1 piece of heavy cover in next to the deployment zones.
So everyone bunched.
Only 1 vantage, which
is it 1 giant Octarius building for each?
Yeah.
Oh.
And there was
very bunchy.
It was 1 building, and
Did it remind you guys of Nova or of any other event?
Worse than
currently?
that. No, here's the thing. It was flipped. It was pushed forward and flipped around. So the underneath was facing you, but it was in front of your deployment zone. So almost all the maps open required you being safe from obscuring. Purely.
Oh my lord.
Yeah.
So it just made anti-obscuring teams that much better, huh?
Yeah, the difference is it wasn't really capitalizable too much, because if you wanted to take advantage of it, you'd have to play on the very far side of the board, which is a problem in itself. But it was weird because if you deployed in light cover, you're getting shot from the vantage, and if you don't, you're being bunched.
There's so I had
it would have been great for Vet Guard. I could have just moved up into the building.
There you go.
Sweet.
You could have moved 7 of them there. Then what are you gonna do with the other 7?
Yeah.
I put them on the sides so I could shoot people on the sides.
There you go.
And then also get blasted.
That's fine.
On a map like that.
It goes they're meant to die for the Emperor.
We're going to do this real quick. There's a few exceptions for the roster build outs that I didn't get into.
Okay.
Like when you would take the missile launcher. I think you always take it into Galapox and Chaos Cults. So
because you're trying to, because they have 15 models each.
Yeah,
or 15, 14.
Teams like that, you're not wanting to get in their face anyway, because they're going to slaughter you mercilessly. Your melee isn't going to do much if they're not taking wounds. So you're just trying to hit them from far away, and when they come in, you finish them off. You're trying to do as much damage from far away as possible. And then on certain Into the Dark boards, I would swap the missile launcher for a shotgun or something like that too, because the lethal 5 makes it so much more worthwhile, even if it is against a team that's a shooty horde. But I would only ever consider taking it against a team that has 12 or more operatives on Into the Dark, or if the board looks like they're going to have to bunch up and I get a blast.
Okay, that's fair.
But yeah, and I would swap it out for a shotgun. So I would take the...
Did we go over the leader? Do you typically take one or the other? I don't remember if we actually solidified it.
Yeah,
we did mention it briefly.
Yeah, I would take the chainsword in teams that have 8 or less wounds generally throughout the board, and I would take the bolter into teams that don't fit that requirement. Yeah,
I remember that.
So, and then there's another exception for when I would take bolt guns instead of shotguns. It's only theorized. I haven't actually played the matchup yet, so I don't know how well it would be. But we were talking about Pathfinders being a game where you would want to take some...
Pathfinders seem like they'd be good into... would be good into scouts. That's what I would assume.
I feel like the matchup would still be favorable for scouts, even if they're... Because they don't have quite as many rerolls as Wormblade do, so they're not reliably killing as hard. They're injuring pretty reliably, but I don't know. I'd have to try it. But yeah, I would take bolters because for Pathfinders, they don't really like to get in your face much, period. Like their drone, they might throw a drone up there, be like, hey, I'm going to take that. Relentless. But Yeah, I think bolt guns would be good to have some long range counterpunch that aren't just your heavy gunners.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and it's killing a Pathfinder. What's it going to do?
Yeah, sometimes I have theories, and sometimes they're very wrong. I mean, I would love to find out later on whether that works or not.
Yeah,
that one's still a work in progress.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress.
Yeah. The main thing is you don't need any combat blades in the Pathfinders. It's overkill. There's no benefit to it.
Yeah, you take a shotgun and he's like, bam, bam, dead.
Yeah, but you need some long range because if they stay at a distance, you only have shotguns. They can just stay out of range and pelt you. So
yeah, that's the problem.
You need more long range shooting. So like, it's not about even whether it's optimum or like the percentage of what are the odds between the teams. But in the Pathfinder matchup, you do not need combat blades. It is just a waste. It's like trying to kill an ant with a sledgehammer. And then the shotguns are fine, but overkill. And then they're 6-inch range. So you need something that can shoot. You need as many options that can shoot because they can just spread out, stay back, and that can be really tough if you don't have enough options that can actually hit them and they can hit you.
So my theorized build out into Pathfinders would be the bolt gun on the leader, 3 bolt gun warriors, and 2 shotguns.
Now, what's interesting is that Tacoma, only 3 Pathfinders showed up, and they had a total of 4 wins between all 3 players.
Oh, wow. I did not know that stat.
I didn't know there was any Pathfinder players.
Nope.
I don't feel bad about that whatsoever. Sorry.
Yeah. But if they're from the Pacific Northwest, I bet they're really nice guys, which is why they don't do good on Pathfinders. Switch to a good team. If you're a good person, for the greater good.
Side.
Yeah, for the greater good, play
for the God Emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the God Emperor.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So the I guess we should probably start talking about their strategic ploys and their tactical ploys. Is there anything that you found that you use a lot or you use only in specific matchups?
This is the sauce right here.
Yeah. So if we're starting with strategic ploys, you use a grand total of absolutely 0 turn 1.
Really?
Yeah, I never used a single strategic ploy turn 1 ever. So
okay.
That's that. You're probably you're not doing that turn 1. And then as for after that, like turn 2 and stuff, I paid for gunfire ambush turn 2 every single game, I believe. It's really helpful if you start all your shotgun warriors are going to be concealed. Your heavy bolter might be concealed, and if you want to, you could be
tech ops. Do that tech ops.
What?
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I lost train of thought.
Sorry.
So you had gunfire ambush.
Oh, here, I got it. So the sniper, if you want to play risky, or if you don't have any punchback, you could flip him to engage to get a shot, and you have rerolls with the sniper. It's just it's really helpful to secure kills with the shotguns or to make your bolt guns more reliable if you're taking those. And then
what does gunfire ambush do?
Sorry about that. So gunfire ambush is if you flip from conceal to engage, then when you shoot at a model during your activation, you get a balanced reroll. And if you're shooting at someone who is already activated, you get cult rerolls, which is just all rerolls of 1 number.
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty disgusting, especially when your shotgun's already hit on 2s.
Yeah, so it basically guarantees you 4 hits. Sometimes with crits, that makes it hard to save.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah, so it makes it nasty.
Because it is awful when you shoot on 2s and you roll misses. It feels like this should be illegal. I'm sorry, sir. I have a shotgun hit on 2s. I should have 4 successes. But those ones pop up. And for a normal player, those ones pop up. Even if you have custodes. Custodes hit in melee and shoot on 2s. And every time I rolled and got a 1, I felt cheated by life. I'm like, this is not... Custodes don't miss. Gross. But with this, it's oh, good. It didn't... Don't worry. You probably didn't miss, and it just makes sure it's no, it's just every time you shoot, it's 4 hits.
Yeah, I have a feeling another reason why Wormblade is good into them is because Vetguard, other high activation teams Brood Brothers and all that kind of stuff, you can have up to 14 models in a lot of cases. So they a lot of times have to trade 2 to 1 in those things, and some of those teams can do the damage. They can do the damage, and I'm going to move up and kill your melta-gun. Cool, my plasma gun is going to kill that guy. That's still a good trade for the Brood Brother player. That's still hey, 1 less scout. Okay, you're down to 9. I'm down to 13. Or if you brought the Patriarch,
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's by far the most one. That's the one I use the most. But
did you use any of the other ones ever?
Yes. So I never used guerrilla engagement. That's one where it's the same thing as gunfire ambush except for melee. The difference is when you flip from conceal to engage, you immediately get all rerolls of one number in melee, and if they're already activated, you also get rending. So it's like an upgraded version of that for melee. And I didn't use that at the tournament because of the matchups I got paired into, but I would like to use that into teams such as like the mirror match, commandos, and Felgor, where you're taking 3 blades and you're wanting to get up there and kill them. Maybe not Felgor, because the idea into Felgor is move up, shoot them, and kill them on the charge. So they're gone. So you're going to want to frenzy them with shooting and then kill them on the charge. So I don't know if you would want to necessarily use that into Felgor, but I like it into the other 10 wound teams where you're charging and guaranteeing the kill.
Including
the mirror match.
Okay. All right.
Blade ambush.
And I never have even considered using. I don't even know what it's called. That's how bad it is in my brain. So
Blade ambush and stealth relocation.
No, he just said blade ambush a second ago.
No, okay, no, I meant blade ambush, but I think I'm thinking of guerrilla engagement. It's the one where you can reroll a dice and cover or something like that.
Defense dice step. That's guerrilla engagement.
Yeah, guerrilla. That. So I threw the
So
wrong
everything he described was blade ambush. I was really confused. I was like, I didn't know it was called that. That's interesting.
You think when
I thought it was called blade something.
When you hear guerrilla engagement, you're thinking melee. So
I can see that.
Yeah,
hit and run.
I can see that.
Yeah.
But they also have a
That's
strat ploy called blade ambush. So
okay, so
That's what we described.
so
So what is guerrilla
This
engagement?
isn't a
That
roast,
you-
Dakota.
So guerrilla engagement lets you reroll one of your defense dice and cover, which could be useful, but you're generally trying not to get shot turn 1. And if you're getting shot turn 2, you're just dealing with it because your goal is to just kill everything and anything as fast as possible with your shotguns and stuff. So it's just your CP could be used for better things.
now it's interesting. Austin Lewis, one of your own teammates, does play the team significantly different. He always brings a missile launcher, and he always tries to get that turn 1, I'm going to kill everything, rather than the turn 2, which sounds like you're going for turn 2.
Well, here's the thing. I am also, so in the scouting step, one of the things I always did, or almost always did, is I did 2 dashes, and I put both my heavy bolter and my sniper up on my home vantage in conceal, and I went for as many turn shots.
Did you guys have vantages in your deployment zones?
There was one board, and this happened to be against a Galabox player. I got put on a board where there was a vantage in my deployment zone, so I started 5 guys up there and just lit up the.
Yep.
So there were a couple.
And you were obscuring. Yep.
Yeah, I had some too. Yeah.
Yeah, so there were a couple, but I'm talking most about the ones that are like right in front of your deployment zone where you can dash into cover on a vantage.
Okay.
So I would put my sniper and my heavy bolter up there, and I would take an infiltrator or 2. So I would get at least 2, maybe only 1 shot turn 1, but I would be taking those shots. So I'd still go for it, just not quite as aggressive as Austin does.
Fair.
Yeah.
Now back to blade ambush and stealth relocation.
Yeah. So blade ambush, already went over that. Take it in the mirror match, commandos, 10 wound teams. The stealth relocation
Is a tactical play.
No, stealth relocation is a strategic play.
It is strategic. It
It is
says
a
select
strategic
one friendly scout squad
it's done.
operative
It's done in the strategic side, yeah.
Yeah.
more than 6 inches from your enemy
This is-
operatives. You can immediately perform a free dash action with that operative and or change its order. You cannot use a strategic ploy in the first turning point. Now, this is specifically good for the heavy bolter. Am I wrong?
I never. There's been opportunities where it maybe, but I don't.
Jimmy,
really-
I saw this one used good against you on Nemesis Claw.
You did, but here's if I can jump in. I know this is Jeshua's thing mostly. Okay, it's good in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, here's the way you use it. I've seen this. Like we could both probably give examples of how we'd be.
I have an example in my head.
Yeah, there's so many different examples I've seen, or I've heard the other scout player who'd like to do this, and it's so strong. You get to dash them and flip. So you can go and set up a model for a great alpha strike, or like a shotgun that has like visibility on 2 models. And then if you lose the initiative, you can turn to conceal and dash him behind cover. So he's safer. So now someone has to come up to get to him. But if you get the initiative, you just pay a CP to double shoot, which we'll get to in a second, and you just get 2 shots, 2 dead models right away. So you can set up for like an aggressive next turn and then readjust if you lose, or if you win it, you can dash a person up forward so he can make a charge. But like, what was the example you had?
So an example I was thinking of is, so like he was saying, it's generally something that you use in response to how the initiative goes and how the board is setting up. You can use it to either defend yourself or to push forward on an attack. And the example I'm thinking of was in my game against Brew Brothers, Chris Baki. And it was turn 3.
He's a hard man. He's made me eat things I didn't want to eat.
Yeah, so what happened is I had a shotgun almost like in my furthermost home objective, and I won initiative, and he had a back objective and a Melta behind a wall in that same area. So I stealth relocated the shotgun and pushed him forward toward the door, and when I had initiative, so I flipped him to engage with gunfire ambush, moved, it was capture. So I took his control of the objective immediately and then killed the Melta, since I was able to push him all the way forward on the board with this stealth relocation.
Now, I also know the way I saw it used really well, which is the double shoot. You can take the heavy bolter, last activation, if you're out activating, last activation, move your guy out, double shoot with the heavy bolter, and then at the end of the next round, if you don't win initiative, you just dash him back behind the door, put him on cover, and then you can gunfire ambush again if you have the CP.
Right.
Pretty disgusting. I think that's how I saw 4 Nemesis Claw die in 2 turns. It was pretty disgusting.
It's fantastic. Into elites, it's such a strong thing that you can do so little about. Because if your models want to go out, fight, shoot, whatever, they're going to end up being unengaged. And Nemesis Claw has great tools to be like, if you leave a model out there, even if you lose initiative, you can lock him in, Vox Scream him, be like, you're done now. I got you. You stay right there. And they just, before you can Vox Scream, they're gone. Just like behind a wall, concealed. And then they go back to conceal too. So they get the gunfire ambush again. Like, so when they pop out again at the end of the next turn to clean up anyone else, and maybe they have a hard time making a shot because, okay, I'm getting to obscurity again. Okay, anyways, but yeah. No, there's so many different ways to use it. If you need that extra bit of movement, how many times have you started a turn and you just thought, oh man, if this guy was just right here, I could do this great play. If he's just a little bit over, but you didn't want to put him there because it'd be too risky. Oh, you pay a CP, move him over. What, do you want him on conceal so you can flip? Well, you can do that. There's just like, you can move it to safe, like move your models, make them safer, get in range, get out of range. Like you can set up a thing where, you can charge someone, but then you can dash out of engagement range. There's so many strong ways. It's really, really strong.
Now, even though I didn't use it all that much, I think it is insanely strong and it helps to adapt very well to your opponent. So I think this is another one of those tricks that sort of pushes them past the stat check.
Fair. That's good.
I think it's one of their strongest plays.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So moving on to tack ploys, I think there's 4 of them: Astartes Training, Raw Physiology, Embolden Aspirant, and Covert Position, which is obviously the easiest one to say. Did you use these a lot, or like, is there one that you're just like, yo, this is just like dog water, as I think Kel Team uses?
Yeah.
Like what do you typically use for?
So I would say that a grand total of 0 of them are dog water. They are all useful. In fact, some of them are very strong in certain situations. The one I use, I have no clue what any of their names are. So I'm just going to have to...
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out for me because I can't read that.
Dude, I've only played Vetguard and I still call things shoot, 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 move, 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 fight. Okay? So we're good.
So the one that I use the most is the one that allows you to shoot twice with either a bolt pistol, bolt gun, heavy bolter, or shotgun.
Astartes Training.
Astartes Training.
That one. So
because they're Space Marines, so they're Astartes. Yeah. So they train to fight like them. Double fight, double shoot. Okay.
Yeah, so it's just with the heavy bolter or with a shotgun, it's just so strong because you get rerolls for both shots and like because you're switching from conceal to engage with gunfire ambush. So it's
with their shotguns too.
Yeah. Shotgun.
Astartes shotgun.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you give us, I did this once with him. It doesn't matter. Wormblade still crushed me, but I activated my leader, gave an APL to a shotgun right next to him, went up, got a kill, did the stuff. Then right after that, the shotgun moved into the room and got a double kill with his double shot. So yeah. So the shotguns with an extra APL, or if you dash them in position with stealth relocation, it's really nice to double shoot with them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times your opponent might not give you 2 shots with the heavy bolter.
And imagine if you had gunfire ambush at the same time.
Can you imagine?
Oh my god!
I wonder how that would go. Yeah.
So that was your most commonly used.
The double shoot.
Starty's training.
Starty's training.
That sounds about right.
And you would try to use that turning point whenever you could, or
whenever I saw an opportunity to get a double shoot off, it's kind of situational in the sense that you have to like wait for an opportunity for it to come up. But an opportunity frequently came where a shotgun could get 2 shots off.
It'll always happen, yeah.
Yeah, it always happened.
But at least once per game, I feel like.
At least once per game. I used it once per game. I'm pretty confident.
But when you have 10 bodies and you can even once just take out 2 of your opponent, that 2-for-1 trade is just huge. And if you're going against a team that has the same or fewer models than you, like just taking out 2 models for a model that's hard to kill back. Because the thing, like you can't just like guaranteed just take out a scout. Like they're tough models. So 2 models in 1 activation is brutal.
Or you can double shoot like an elite, or double shoot like or heaven forbid, double shoot a Felgor, and you kill him the first time, you shoot him again, and then he's dead. Raw physiology is the next one up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get into next. Raw physiology is also really strong and really useful. It's situational because, of course, you might not ever have a model injured in the game; they might just die. But it also is useful it works for both stun and injury. So raw physiology, when the model activates, you can spend the CP, and for the rest of their activation, they're not treated as being injured or stunned. Mm-hmm. So it's really helpful. I used it twice against Baki, so it comes in handy a lot, and it just helps. It pushes you past that injury limitation that most teams have. Mm-hmm. And, it helps, especially with you got rerolls, you have ways to ignore injury, you can't really be slowed down. So
I actually have an extra thought on that. This gives so much strength to the team, and I would always let my opponent know. I think it's really important to let them know you have this.
Yeah.
Because they're at core a 2 APL team, which is one of their weaknesses, right? Like they're just 2 APL and they can be stunned. So one of the big things I've heard people tell me, oh, well, you can just get out some stuns and you can stop this team. That's how you stop them. But anything that's crucial, first of all, some of these models can just charge and stick in combat, then they're safe. Then the next turn, then they fight and charge someone else. But the fact that even if they get out a crucial stun, you can just pay a CP and ignore it, means oftentimes people don't want to bother investing in stun grenades or putting focuses on trying to get stuns on models. So just having it kind of makes your opponent, they have to focus on killing you. They can't just stun you. And even if you get down to one wound left, that won't be enough. They have to kill you. They can't injure you or stun you. If they put you in that state, you can just pay a CP and it's like nothing happened. So the threat of being able to use it gives so much strength in the match.
Yeah, I would agree.
Fair.
Yeah, okay. What's the next one?
Okay, the next one is called Emboldened Aspirant.
Is that the one that has to do with turning a hit to a crit?
Yes.
Okay, so that one, I think it's definitely really good. The problem is I didn't find myself using it that much.
Okay.
It's so what it is if you're fighting or shooting for the first time in a turn, or if you're making a fight or shooting attack against a model that has more wounds left than you, then you can take one of your normal hits in the resolve, like successful hit step, into a crit. So
you didn't find yourself using this very often.
I think it's good, and I would either not be in a situation where it was needed because the shotguns, the crits don't matter, or where the CP could just be used for other stuff that might turn out to be better.
Gotcha.
But if you, let's say one of their tough matchups I heard might be Felgor. It's not. But
right,
in that
that's
matchup,
a good one.
Yeah. If you need it, guess what? If you need that crit,
boom, you got it. You want to go and clear off, and you have let's say you have a
this would be
combat
good against
blade.
commandos as well. I'm assuming.
Great against commandos. Oh, I want to make sure they can't just a scratch. Boom.
And if you paid for the rending, then you get 2 crits right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's gross.
And if you're doing the sniper and you already got like 1 crit, you could pay to turn another one. 6 mortal wounds, you're pretty much auto killing like anything you're shooting at.
So I think this is a good point to bring up in addition to what I said about the last one. Sometimes people have a hard time understanding strength of ploys. Sometimes they think, if you don't use a ploy that often, it's not as strong. And it's totally not true. Some ploys are commonly used. Like, for example, Wormblade uses hiding every single game. Every single game, every single match, you use hiding, right? And it's strong, for sure. But sometimes there's key, like, it's that coiled serpent will be the thing that wins you the game. Or the slink into darkness, when you use it, will be the thing. But, so sometimes it's just about the situation. Like, the tool that's exactly what you need in the exact moment you need it is the crucial thing that lets you win that game. And, like, I think being able to turn off a stun or being able to flip a hit to a crit, those are those crucial deciding factors, because there are so many times where it's like, I'm going to charge and fight, and I just need a crit. And if I can get 1 crit, I win. And, like, if you've played a bunch of kill games, you found yourself in that moment. And you roll those dice, and there's no crits. You got balanced. You re-roll the other one. No crit. You lose the game. Like, the fact that you could in that key moment, like, I don't think either one, this one or the last one, you're going to use on a regular basis. But the few times you use it literally might be that difference between winning and losing.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah. And the last one.
Covert position. Use this tactical ploy when a friendly scout operatives during a friendly scout operative's activation until the start of the next activation. While that operative has a conceal order, it's always treated as having the conceal order regardless of any other rules.
Yep. So this is amazing. I use this frequently. Not most of my games, but I used it in quite a few of my games. Especially on these boards, there was always frequently like 1, maybe 2 objectives just out in the open. And
almost like you could put a guy out there.
It's almost like I can afford to put a guide there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it allows me to not worry about losing models just to score a couple points turn 1. I don't have to throw away those points just because I don't want to die. I can pay for super conceal and be like, okay, I'm fine now.
Yeah. Nothing you can do about it, as long as they're behind, within 1 inch of cover.
And if you're looking at the board beforehand, you are planning for stuff like this, like, okay, I'm going to have to put someone in super conceal right there. And then that helps in your forward scouting phase when you're choosing your stuff. You're like, okay, I might need that extra CP for this.
It's fair.
So yeah, stuff like that helps you determine what you're doing for your forward scouting.
So what we're going to do now on this part of the pod is we're going to figure out what combinations of models that you use at different points. So I'm sure there's always like some combos. So like I have a bunch of different combos for Vet Guard, things that I look to do with different models, different times, so on and so forth. So what are the combos along with either other models or the tac ploys that you typically finding yourself using in the majority of your games or in very specific matchups?
Okay, so 2 combos that immediately pop into my head are even for turn 1 is I love pairing the Sergeant with a Combat Blade Warrior. And what I'll do is I'll give either one or both of them a grenade. And you can, let's say you don't give one to the Sergeant, you just give like a tracker or a frag to the Warrior, then you could dash that Warrior up in either your forward scouting or the scouting step. And what you do is your leader, he does his thing, but when he does, he gives that one Warrior an APL. And then you now have an Alpha Strike option against your opponent turn 1. And it provides a threat that your opponent has to deal with on top of your non-obscuring and your shooting, which will lead into my other combination that I really like, which is pairing the tracker with the heavy bolter.
Oh.
Which is pretty, it makes sense to me because the tracker, he has a way to turn off obscuring from one model that's visible to him. So if I see someone who the heavy bolter on advantage currently is obscure to, I'll be like, okay, tracker, die. Like he picks someone like, okay, you're going to die now. to my heavy bolter.
Now, usually is this on a model that has already activated because you're trying to, because otherwise that other person could just move
it could either
right?
be so here's how it would work. I could either wait and pose the threat of being able to turn off an already activated model's obscuring, or I could turn off someone's obscuring that's not activated and force them to react to that and put them in possibly unfavorable positions.
Or take them off of like an
important spot, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you haven't activated, but if you don't activate now, you're gonna die. So deal with that.
Okay, cool. That's fair.
Yeah.
And Heavy Bolter, we've already gone over a couple times. Now, one model we have not touched on, which I'm hovering over now, is the Scout Hunter. Now, what's interesting about this as well is all of their combat blades for Scout Hunters and for the Warriors have gone up to 4.6.
Yep.
Regardless of what Warhammer's website says, that is what it says in the FAQ. So, or the data slate. So that is what they currently are. Obviously, they're not updated here. Now, did you use your Scout Hunter a lot, or was he just like your distraction Carnifex, as 40K players would say?
Yeah, I would definitely say the majority of the time he was more of like a threat and a distraction. There were definitely a few times where I used him like backflip, and now he charges and kills whoever he charges. But but the Hunter's ability is...
Did you scream out parkour anytime he did it?
No, I always scream backflip, not parkour.
Now, why is that? Is that because we're just different generations? Or Jimmy, have you ever screamed out parkour?
I would scream out parkour because I am a good, like, red-blooded American who loves the Office. So I would pretend to be Dwight Schrute and do a somersault through the tournament hall while I yell parkour. Then I would jump up and kick the table and knock over the board. And then wouldn't even be bad sportsman, because if I'm playing someone who's at least 30 years old, he'd be like, I get it, bro. You had to. I'm like, of course I did. But Jeshua is 10 years old, so he hasn't seen anything that's not anime.
But yeah, I love my positioning for him was generally there's that one heavy cover, like big Octarius piece that's like 3 inches from the deployment zone. So I would put him right behind the door, and if my opponent moves up at all, then he starts underneath that vantage and he charges, and now he's lethal 3. So good luck dealing with that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. So I never finished explaining his ability is. If you do a charge during that charge you go underneath the vantage, traverse, climb, drop, or anything to do of that sort, and then he gains lethal 3 on his melee profile. Mm-hmm. So he basically becomes 4-on-3, 6/6.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So he could reasonably charge and elite and just kill it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's what all Reavers wish they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
Give him a 4/6 blade.
So how did you end up using your Scout in pretty much every game? Now I know that outside of the ones that the vantage was in your deployment zone, outside of those, how did you move the sniper around, and how did you position him? Because he does have heavy and silent.
Yeah, so how I almost always, I'm pretty sure I might have actually always, I always took 2 dashes, and I would put my sniper and heavy gunner, if I was on open, I would put my sniper and heavy gunner on a vantage, and I would determine where on the vantage I would want them, based off which spot had...
I'm assuming you gave them climbing ropes so that you could
I gave the heavy bolter climbing rope. I didn't give the sniper a climbing rope.
Could you dash and climb up something?
No, I didn't. I put him on top of the vantage behind cover, because it's not like your vantages; they just have cover when you dash them there.
Scouting dashes with fly.
Yeah.
So. Is it the same for the scouts? Does the scouts dash also?
The recon dash they have is fly.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I just put him up there, and he's like, "Okay, I start here now."
Okay.
But I would put him on the spot that would always have the more obscured angles, and I put the heavy bolt on the spot that had more of the open angles, so they both have their range of niches, if that makes sense. And then the rest of how I determined was my opponent in the board. If I was on Into the Dark, I probably wouldn't have dashed the 2 heavy gunners. I would have dashed probably a warrior with a grenade, and that might have been it. Maybe 1 dash. You don't really need all the extra dashes when you're on Into the Dark. It might be useful if you're trying to get a door open early, or if you're trying to do stuff like that. But
it's better for like booby traps and stuff, right?
on Into the Dark, the closed hallways and the open objectives, it made the trip mine or the trip alarm and the booby trap. Yeah, they made those 2 things so much better. So those were taken frequently. I used the extra CP a lot, although I've heard Kellen mention this. He doesn't take it in certain situations. Neither do I, because
Kellen didn't do as good as you. Sorry, Kellen.
You're trying to break this
We're not
team
going to throw any
apart.
purple shade.
No purple shade.
Hey, you were 8th place and then you got dropped to 16th. I'm sorry, my guy. Don't lose.
So how we think of it is you can think of it as using that extra CP to buy an infiltrate or to put down a booby trap. It's like spending the CP for that.
Okay.
So sometimes the other things are more useful. I took always one infiltrate and one dash. I don't think there's ever time I didn't take at least one of those two options. The booby trap was used quite a few times. I didn't use the triple arm all that much because teams have models they can just throw away to activate it, or they could move, activate it, and then dash behind cover so that you can't shoot them. So it's less.
But it's better on Into the Dark because a lot
of the rooms that you have to get stuck in.
Yeah.
I think I only played on one Into the Dark game the entire time, and I used the triple arm there. But yeah.
Now, there's an interesting conversation I had with Jimmy. Jimmy was telling me that he was thinking about taking Hearthkin to Tacoma, and I told him, don't do that, because I am a Hearthkin non-believer. And
you always poop on my parades.
I did, and then ultimately you didn't bring them because of your play into scouts, and I believe you said it was the booby traps could just pin them into their own deployment zone.
Yeah, I believe you can run Hearthkin Salvagers.
You just need a lot of practice.
I believe they can do good. But my main thing for this tournament is I wanted to do well into scouts. Then I ended up bringing most of the scouts players. There's James Loomis. But yeah, there was not many scouts players. I'm like, I brought them all. If I had just not invited these people, I wouldn't have to worry about scouts at all. I could have just...
You can't get rid of me.
I could have grounded you.
I mean, yeah.
We're like, Jeshua, did you not take out the trash? Now you can't go to Tacoma. Sorry, bud. You got to stay here. Anyways, but yeah. So I mostly was that was my main game plan going in. And I was trying to figure out what team can deal with scouts. So I tried Hearthkin, and they're short little stubby legs. They have a hard time getting around anyways. But I was like, you can still do it. They start putting booby traps out, and you're like, well, oh goodness, how do you deal with that at all? Yeah, so it's rough. It really, but it affects all teams though too. But when you already have movement issues and struggles, it just really pigeonholes you.
Yeah. So moving into equipment to end the scout segment, what did you typically find yourself using? I'm sure you never used climbing equipment on Into the Dark.
Never did that. I would hope not.
I'm sure you'd use a lot of climbing equipment on Beta Decima, but Beta Decima doesn't exist at GW tournaments. Yeah, thank goodness. So what did you find yourself using the most?
So I always took either a frag or a crack. Like I said, I like pairing a warrior that I dash up behind a door, paired with my leader who gives him an APO, and he just poses a threat even if he can't get the grenade off. Mm-hmm. I love that threat. And I also always, this is just purely always, I always took a heavy weapon bipod on the heavy bolter, which, what it is, if the heavy bolter shoots in a turn where he has not moved, then he can reroll all dice of one number, which is just stupid, especially if I'm starting him on top of Vantage where he's not moving.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, so he's guaranteeing resilient. Kill. No, it's not resilient.
Yeah. But yeah, a heavy bolter that can double shoot, that hits on threes with Wormblade rerolls. Gross. And can double shoot if it needs to.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Yeah, so I also, on open, I'd give the heavy bolter almost always a climbing rope because even if he's not double shooting, that means he can dash down back underneath the Vantage without taking any...
Through a hatch or something, yeah.
Yeah, through a hatch, or just if you put him close to the edge, he can just go 1 inch off the edge and 2 inches back under the cover, so it's
That's interesting that they made every Vantage safe at Tacoma. I don't necessarily agree with that map building wise, but
The only ones that weren't safe were the ones that were starting in deployment zone.
Well, if you want another quick detour here, when you, let's say if you're in the California kill team scene, and you get used to squad games, terrain packets, and then you have to go and play on these inferior pieces of garbage, it's rough. I tell you what,
I got put in these things. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here?
Yeah, I remember when I first started playing Octarius, I'm like, this is so fun. I love it. And then my life was ruined because someone had to show me how life could really be good. And now it's like, ugh. It's like, once you stay at the Marriott, you don't want to stay at the Gypsy Hotel.
Except for Jimmy. Jimmy will do whatever he needs to.
Yeah, I will. But I mostly just stay at Gypsy motels. And the people that I have some people like, hey, can I stay with you? They do that like once or twice. And they're like, I don't think I'm going to do that again because you'd like to stay at Gypsy motels. I'm like, I do. I love it. I feel comfortable here. No, you hold it. But anyways, yeah. When you get used to squad games, it's hard to go back.
That's fair. Now, I think we're going to wrap up scouts here. Did you guys end up using smoke grenades?
Nope.
They have smoke grenades?
They have smoke grenades.
They do.
It's so for the equipment.
Hey, that might be good into Wormblade. Just saying.
Maybe I'll consider that.
I took spotlights and a sniper, so it didn't matter.
Yeah. So
So
it costs 2 points and it costs too much. So everything generally costs 2, which gives you like a wide selection of things you can put on your models. I like taking the no cover on either the leader with the bolt gun or the heavy bolter or sniper. One of those 3 based off the matchup. If it's a matchup where you want to,
targeting ocular.
Yeah, the targeting ocular. That's what it's called. It depends on the matchup. If you're going into a team that has really durable models that you want to reliably take out or that retain a lot of cover saves, like Wormblade, I would put the no cover on the heavy bolter just to make sure they can't retain 2 saves or
Gellerpox.
Or even one, like Gellerpox or like even 1 save. So just the teams that have a ton of wounds that you want to reliably kill. I would put it on the leader in other situations where you're just trying to make the bolter a bit more lethal. And the sniper in situations where you're not taking the leader with the bolter. But it's a way to make your other weapons more lethal, your heavy bolter even more lethal than it already is. And then the extra blade is good on the hunter. It makes him just even more of a menace because he parkours and then runs around killing things.
Before we wrap up, Jeshua actually figured out a really interesting strategy against Wormblade.
Yeah.
Even though that the matchup didn't go well, and I still think Wormblade does good into scouts. You should tell him the thing you figured out with
one of the problems I had as scouts is Wormblade are out activating us, and they can put a heavy gunner in hiding and just wait for me to be done and then pop them down, kill one of my models for free with no repercussions.
Mm-hmm. So
I thought about it, and in the scouting step, one of their favorite things that I like to use is I forget what it's called, but it's the stun one. I use that against the model that is in hiding, the heavy gunner. So I will so I would stun the mining laser, and he would drop in with 0 APL left.
Huh.
Nice.
Yeah. They can prevent that if they are knowing to look for it with a flash visor, but it's making them...
Who brings flash visors? Come on.
I knew he did that. I still forgot and didn't put the flash visor on the mining laser. And then I was like, oh, geez. That's one model I can't use.
Well, that definitely helps.
Yeah, it was super strong. And so if you're playing scouts and you play Wormblade and they put like a great threat that's going to hit you turn 1 into hiding, stun that sucker. And that's one less thing you do not have to worry about now.
Yeah, so that's one thing I forgot to mention. If you're facing a team that can be stunned and has a great Alpha Strike option, like Brood Brothers with their Sapper, or you're facing Pathfinders. I guess they can't really do it anymore. Old Pathfinders. Any team that has like a good Alpha Strike option with a grenade or just anything,
Phobos.
you stun that model. Phobos, not Phobos, they can ignore that. But so any team that can't ignore stun and they have a good Alpha Strike, the stun's really good.
Nemesis Claw.
Yeah, them too.
Yeah,
well,
because they can't.
I guess you could do it still to Phobos, but they'd have to spend a CP.
Yeah, but you could. I'd rather use my scouting for other things though, even if it does make them spend a CP, because that you could think of that as me spending a CP to make them spending a CP, if that makes sense.
You say that until the very last turning point when they have 1 left to reroll to see if they win the game. Like that's going to happen every time. Like you'd be like, dang, I should have stunned that guy.
So I think there's 2 factors. Number 1, like if they can Alpha Strike, and number 2, if there's one model that can Alpha Strike. Like if you go against, if someone brings Hyrotech, you could stun their leader because they need all that AP to be able to do everything they're going to do. Or can you stun the leader for Hyrotech?
I think so.
I have
think we
no
can.
idea.
I'm pretty sure they can
I don't-
be stunned. I think they
I try not to look at the Necron.
Let's call Shane real quick. He'll tell us. Anyways,
He would.
but also some
Probably
teams
screaming at his phone right now.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure he is. I mean, I know he listens to every word of this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's obsessed with purple, so he's still hooked in.
With the purple store.
Yeah. I know he's online right now. He's like, do they ship to where I live? Like, no, they don't, because you're not allowed to buy purple. That's my color, Shane. Stay away from it. Anyways, but yeah, like if they can be stunned, if they have an alpha strike, but also if they have like focused units, like for example, Nemesis Claw, it's that fearmonger represents a very key specific alpha strike. But like Blades of Cain are very balanced. They have so many models. Stunning one doesn't do anything because they have another model that can do the same thing. So you want to do it on teams where it's like, this is the key model I'm worried about. It is absolutely not just like they could do it in theory. It's got to be, you got to lock in because you only do it one time. If there's one key model, like for example, the Grenadier on Pathfinders, which can still alpha strike, because you can give them a scouting dash and you can still do a free dash with Montka.
Yeah, so you can still start 12 inches up and then throw a grenade.
And he's got indirect. So stunning that model is huge. But it's very focused. And you have to like know your opponent and know when to use it. But anyways, I just wanted to share that because stunning a model in hiding with Wormblade is just so badass. It's really good.
You're not wrong.
And for the most part, if people don't listen to your podcast, like let's say they're just really lame and just gross people that, should probably be on a government watch list. If you don't listen to it. Like I talked to a couple of people at Tacoma and I mentioned because they'd asked like, oh, where'd you get that really cool dice tray? Because I have this really awesome dice tray that has like this lid on it that you can has place to put dice to mark the score so you can keep track of the score. And it has a really custom cool Kel Team neoprene mat. It's this super cool dice. And everyone's like, oh man, where'd you get that? I'm like, well, you got to get it from just get it from Squad Games. And I had like one person who was like, what's Squad Games? I'm like, you leave right now. Like, you go away. How do you not know what? I feel sick. I almost threw up right in front of him. Anyways, so if you're playing an opponent who's not cool and is listening to Squad Games, you're going to catch him off guard. And he's going to be playing Wormblade. He's like, I'm so cool. Here's my mining laser in hiding. I'm going to pop it. No, you're not. No, you're not. He's like, he's not going to do shit round one. And it's such a cool gotcha. And they're going to cry and they're going to feel bad about themselves. And you have to thank Jeshua, though. If you use that play, if you stun a mining laser in hiding, you've got to message Jeshua and say, thank you for making my life better. That's all I say. So,
and you can find him on the Squad Games Discord,
Yeah.
Hey, there we go.
Okay. There's also, I'd like to throw in another scouting thing that I found out.
Okay.
It's more niche because Wormblade are just in general they're just Wormblade. But if you face Brood Brothers and they take specifically the big bad patriarch, then what I did is I found out where he was deployed, like what side he was going to intend to march up and be a huge threat. And I put a booby trap to prevent him from moving up the board, period, because he has a 50 mil base. What are you doing? So I basically took the patriarch and I said, get out of my board. Stay over there.
That's fair. That's fair.
Then there's one more thing, and this one I credit to Kellen.
Yeah.
The patriarch can stay safe because he can do that get down, Mr. President, right?
Oh, this one, yeah.
So they have a tactical ploy where if you shoot at the patriarch, he can say, "Nuh-uh, you are going to shoot my veteran or whatever." Veteran does it for free. Everyone else pays a CP. And by the way, Baki loves the patriarch, and he triple stacks that sucker. He takes the patriarch and he keeps the veteran near him to do that, and then he keeps the medic near the veteran. So I was like, "This is illegal, sir. This is illegal. You are not allowed to make this patriarch invincible." But here's the fun thing: the heavy bolter has fusillade. So with fusillade, if a model is within 2, you get to determine how many, because it says the target of that shooting attack is now the veteran. Let's say the
the other Broodguard veteran model. So you now with Fusillade get to determine how many dice you put into each model.
Yep.
Because the Patriarch's still a valid target and he's within 2 of the now new target, the veteran. You can choose to put all 5 into the Patriarch and 0 into the veteran.
Yeah, so the veterans thing doesn't work. I think Fusillade is the only thing that gets around
Blast.
But if you want to be a real jelly villain, you want to be a real purple jelly villain, you don't tell them until they spend the CP. So they'll spend the CP and be like, haha, I got you. And you'd be like, haha, you wasted money. And then just shoot them on. And then you get a double shoot.
You tried to get me, but I got you instead.
Yeah. Then you can double shoot that Patriarch with a heavy bolter with rerolls. And then just watch him cry as his 4-armed emperor dies.
Fair. That is fair. That does work.
Anyways, so 1 tip from the kid and 1 tip from Kellen.
Mm-hmm. Well, everyone, I think we're gonna wrap this up here. So is there anything that you guys want to do any shout outs for as we end the episode?
Ooh, well, we just finished Tacoma, so I feel like we gotta shout out some of the cats. I saw Tyler again. One of the top cats guys. I played with him at LVO. I didn't get to play with him this time. Tyler is awesome. I got to meet Connor for the first time with cats. Great guy. The cats people in the Pacific Northwest are just amazing people. The only downside of their tournaments is it's not run by squad games. That's the only downside. But if you're willing to go to a non-squad games tournament, just a fantastic group of kill team people up here. Just the best.
They are. They do some great things.
Yeah. Giacomo, we still know you exist.
Yes, I'm still here. I guess I'll do my shout outs real quick. So, thank you for watching this video. If you're watching it in the video format on YouTube, if not, thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on whatever podcast thing you're using. And if it would be so much niceness for you if you shared this with somebody, because that's always cool. They might like Kill Team. They might want to start playing it. And this is a good place to do that. And you can also check us out on the Squad Games Discord. Join the conversation there. Tell us what you think about those teams. Tell us what you think about models that come out. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Tell us if Jimmy Kelly and Jesh are, or Kimmy Jelly. I'm sorry. I keep saying his name wrong.
How dare you, sir?
If they ultimately are wrong about scouts. What if you, or in the comments in YouTube, go ahead and let us know what you think. If this is the correct way to play scouts, or if there's a different way to play scouts.
Just so you know, though, if you disagree with me, I will physically fight you at the next tournament I see. Just come up, you say it to my face, and I will fight you.
Here's the thing: if you disagree, just do better.
Wow!
Now I'm sure Austin is screaming at the phone, except he's not, because he doesn't
listen.
He does not listen. So can we take a moment to just shit talk Austin for a second? We did this before. I shit talked him on some video or somewhere, and I told everyone.
I think it was on your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah. It was my video. Yeah. So I was like, hey, if you see Austin, tell me he's a hell of a guy. And we all know that's code for you're a piece of shit. And like afterwards, after LVO, he came to me. He's like, hey, I had like 5 people telling me I'm a hell of a guy. I'm like, that's amazing. That's great. I was like, you never listened to the video we did you? And he was like, no, why? I was like, I think he tried to pretend he did. I don't know. Anyways, so if we want to shit talk Austin, he will never know. So what a piece of shit that guy is.
Now it's time to say it.
If you see Austin at a tournament, just tell him he's a hell of a guy. So
We're gonna start this up again.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
So
sorry.
And he Austin is one of your teammates. So
he's my teammate.
So he can say that.
Yeah, I can. By the way, I prefer to shit talk people that I actually enjoy and I have a good enough connection with to be able to shit talk. So, but if you do not know Austin, still feel free to shit talk anyways. That's fine. I give you permission. So
you have the jelly's
Austin
permission.
will probably drive to your house and shut up your phone service.
he could.
He could.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm going to do shout outs. If you guys want to, please help support us by watching Hobby Highlander. It is our video series that we do deciding blind paint reviews. We have, The jade paint is our newest one, and black is next, and then blue after that. So we have a lot of episodes coming up. And also, if you guys want to help us out in a more personal way, please join our Patreon, where we do a lot of stuff there. And usually, if you're part of our Patreon, we also, if you come to LVO, because we host LVO, we also like to give back to our top tier Patreons there as well.
Yeah.
You should
definitely join the Patreon. Money is not real, and you should just give it to Dakotah and Giacomo and Saya more. Give it to Squad Games, and just maybe don't stay at a Marriott and stay at a Gypsy Motel, and you can afford to do it. I'm just saying, there's ways to do it. So he won't be as pushy. I think you guys should join the Patreon. So
I specifically like Giacomo's picture here in the gold paint. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, but that's besides the point. Last thing is, if you want to help us out, come to the All Valley Team Tournament. Again, we are giving out 3 golden tickets. It's going to be a blast. It's on September 21st and 22nd, starting at 10 a.m. 3 rounds day 1, 3 rounds day 2, 100 players. That leaves us about 30-something teams. I think it's like 102 players max. So I think that's like 34 teams total. It's going to be great.
I'm willing to do a deal for AVTT.
Okay.
If you show up to AVTT and if you tell Austin he's a hell of a guy, I will, on the down low, give you an adult beverage.
Outside in the parking lot.
Yeah, no, secret. Like, we're not officially. Like, unfortunately, this tournament is not being held in Tijuana. So, yeah, but like, will you get an adult beverage outside of the venue that you may do with what you wish? Yes, you will. I will find a way. But show up to AVTT, be part of the most fun event ever. Tell Austin he's a hell of a guy, and then you get an adult beverage. So I will need confirmation of this by watching Austin get very mad once he finally realizes what this means. So yeah, that's the jelly promise to you.
That's fair. That's fair. And also, like, we are currently working on reopening the lasers for making things. I'm still going through it with full spectrum laser after the second big laser fire. They recently sent me pieces to the laser that I installed, and they're the wrong pieces. So I have to send them back and get new ones. So it's just a matter of time and process. But
that's not frustrating at all. My goodness.
Yep. $20,000 down the drain, but it is what it is. Hopefully one day it'll come back. So
yeah, but money is not real. So give it to Squad Games. So,
and then that'll help us pay our rents. So, and also buy more cameras. Giacomo and me are both going to be coming here tomorrow and setting up a mock battle report. So we're going to be looking to start putting those out on YouTube here quite regularly and soon. So if you want to see Kill Team from a different perspective, from something that we want to put out with 5 different cameras and a bunch of other stuff, we're looking to make different kinds of battle reports than anything on YouTube currently. So if you've made it this far, thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you're listening to the podcast, don't forget to hit that 5-star button to help us out. So until next time, everyone.
See ya.
All right, see ya.
The Squad Games podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at lestersworkshop.com/squad-games.